Hello everyone. This is the story about what if Naruto becomes the Pokémon Master. Before we start the video, please hit the subscribe button and like the video as well. I have created playlist of every what if, make sure to check them as well. So, without any further ado, let's start. How exactly did you manage to get away from all those angry women chasing you just now, Naruto? By the looks of things, they didn't even manage to lay a finger on you, asked a curious Conway. He, Naruto, Ash, Dawn, Brock, Roland and Cynthia were all seated at a table in a small restaurant in Hearthome City and were enjoying an early dinner. Paul had left right after the prize-giving ceremony for the Hearthome Tag Battle Tournament was over. As soon as Naruto got out of the stadium, he found an angry mob of women glaring at him with such intensity that if looks could kill, Naruto would be 6 feet under in seconds. So Naruto did the one logical thing any man in his place would do. He ran as fast as he could. I managed to lose them once we passed a deserted alley, fibbed Naruto. The only part of that sentence that held any truth at all was the part about the deserted alley. Naruto had just turned a corner and quickly made a shadow clone and replaced himself with it, without any of the enraged females noticing. Naruto imagined that they were still trying to chase his clone to no avail. Well, Naruto, you would not even have gotten yourself into this kind of situation if you didn't. Naruto stopped listening to what Cynthia was saying. This was the 7th time she was lecturing him about his usage of the sexy jutsu thus far. So he gave her the same reply that he did the last 2 times as well. Yes, Mom. I have to listen to you and do as you say because you are so smart and I am so dumb. Ow! What did you do that for, Cynthia? Asked Naruto, who taken by surprise when Cynthia actually decided to bonk him on the head this time. In response to Naruto's question, Cynthia just turned her back to him and huffed, not wanting to look at him right now. We interrupt the lame and boring programs that you all may be watching for these more important messages, said a voice on the TV at the restaurant as the current TV show was cut off and 2 figures appeared on screen. Cynthia and the others decided to put their current topic of discussion on hold for the time being as they turned their attention to the interruption that was being aired on screen. On TV. This video footage that we're about to show you may not be suitable for some viewers. People under the age of 16 are advised to avoid watching this. We will not be held responsible for any damages occurred, informed the first person. He had onyx eyes under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. He had jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail and his face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his chin. His current choice of clothing consisted of a black shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back, bandages around his ankles, and black sandals. He was wearing a pair of tan pants with a pouch strapped to his back. Stop sugarcoating it, just tell all the little kids to go hide in the closet till the end of the video or risk crippling their feeble little minds, shouted the second person. He was a very tall, muscular person. He had a distinctive shark-like appearance, completed with pale, blue-gray skin. He also had small, round, white eyes, gill-like facial markings under his eyes, actual gills on his shoulders and sharp triangular teeth. He also styled his blue hair in the form of a shark fin. He was wearing dark purple nail polish. He was also dressed in a black cloak with red clouds on it, with Naruto. When Naruto heard the way the people on screen phrased their last 2 sentences, he knew exactly which video was about to be shown. Naruto already had a bag of popcorn in his hands. The reactions he was going to see were probably going to be priceless. Too bad he didn't have a camera with him. Such was life. Naruto recognized the 2 people on TV immediately. They were 2 of his shadow clones, who had taken on the appearance of the duo of former Akatsuki members, Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki. On TV, video start. Are you feeling hungry? Asked Itachi. The video began with a close-up of Cyrus, who was in nothing but a giant diaper, sitting on the floor. He looked to be in a completely empty room. The walls were pure white in color and there was no furniture in the room whatsoever. I want my milk. I want my milk, cried out Cyrus as he flapped his arms around like a bird and hit them against the floor repeatedly. When nothing happened, Cyrus repeated what he just did again. I want my milk. I want my milk. OW. OW. cried Cyrus with renowned vigor, sounding more and more like a baby by the minute, with those watching the video. Is that Cyrus? Wondered Conway in a mixture of shock and disbelief, his mouth agape. He knew that Cyrus was a rich businessman who had built most of the buildings and libraries throughout Sinnoh. Conway did not expect to be seeing someone so influential, like this. Why would Cyrus even dress up and act like that in the first place? Why would any grown man in their right mind dress up and act like that, for that matter, in the video? Don't feel like you have enough of a pump and hormones flowing through you? Questioned Kisame. The video then changed to a scene in a bedroom where Sasuke and Sakura were in the midst of a kiss. This was not a normal kiss, it was quite passionate. Sasuke had his arms around Sakura's waist while hers were around his neck. Both their tongues were engaged in a battle for dominance. Suddenly Sasuke pulled away, saying that, "I just do not have the mood to keep going," before walking away, leaving Sakura on the brink of tears. "Don't have the strength to get a good workout in?" inquired Itachi. The scene then shifted to a gym where Mato Guy, who was dressed in a green jumpsuit with orange leg warmers, was trying and failing to perform a barbell curl. The barbell had a 5-pound plate on each side. With Drake and Sydney. Drake and Sydney, two members of Hoen's Elite Four, were just passing some time in Lava Ridge Town while they waited for an acquaintance of theirs to show up at the aforementioned town. Said acquaintance was only due to arrive tomorrow. So the two of them, who had arrived a day early, had gone out to grab a bite, similar to Naruto and company. It turned out that every TV channel in Sinnoh was affected by the earlier interruption, and that it was now being aired on every single station. "Look, Drake, you have fans," pointed out Sydney, who was snickering, as he tried to restrain himself from bursting out and laughing. Sydney recalled that Drake had worn the exact same outfit during the last meeting between the Elite Four and champion of the Hoenn region. "Shut up!" snarled Drake, which was uncharacteristic of him. Drake himself was thinking about the same incident as Sydney. Drake really hoped that pictures of him in Evergrande City wearing the same outfit as Mato Guy had not been leaked. He really hated to think of the consequences that were to come if someone saw him in that abomination. If one of those people actually got inspired to wear that suit because of him, then Drake knew that he would die of embarrassment. Back on TV, resuming with the video. "Don't have enough power to get a hold of the one you desire?" asked Itachi. The scene then changed to a horde of fangirls outside a large house, with the Hidden Sand Village's symbol on it, that looked like it could easily fit 20 people. The girls all had posters of Gaara in their hands, and were trying to kick the door to the house down repeatedly. "If you have any of these problems, then we have a solution of you," said Itachi and Kisame in unison. A new person walked up next to Itachi and Kisame. She was a woman with silver hair and blue eyes. "I give you guys 3 guesses to try and figure out who she is." She was dressed in a pink shirt that looked like it was 1 or 2 sizes too big for her and a black mini skirt that only went up to shortly above her knees. Out of the blue, she lifted her hands up and took off her shirt, revealing her sea blue-colored lacy bra. She then moved one of her hands behind of her back and unclasped said bra. Her breasts jiggled a little as they were freed from their restraint. You know, when all those multiple colored bars appear on the TV when there is a certain scene that is to be hidden from people's eyes. This was one of those times. These color bars did not last for very long though, as they vanished 5 seconds later. The picture on screen now was of Hunter J, whose upper half of her body was up for show with no clothes covering it, just like the day she was born. There were now 15 transparent cartons filled with milk lined up in front of her, leaving the spectators to come to their own conclusions on where the milk came from. Some of those possibilities were dirtier than others. Get your minds out of the gutter, people. If you are thinking that happened right now, then rest assured that it did not. We present to you Hunter J Special Super Deluxe Milk. We guarantee that it is better than any milk you have ever tasted before, and it is much more beneficial too, said Itachi and Kisame at the exact same time. With Hunter J Special Super Deluxe Milk, you will never go hungry again, said Itachi. The video shifted to Hunter J as she now held a baby bottle in front of Cyrus. There was a moment of silence. Then, like a tiger getting ready to pounce on a deer in order to get a meal, Cyrus quickly latched onto the baby bottle before he hungrily started emptying it of its contents. With Hunter J Special Super Deluxe Milk, you will always be able to deliver performances in bed that will make women want to be with you and men want to be you. Spoke Kisame. The scene shifted to Sasuke and Sakura on a large, comfy bed, with the people watching the video. Oh my God! Gasped Dawn in complete and utter shock. Her face had taken on a really unhealthy shade of green. For those of you that watch Fairy Tail, imagine Natsu's face when he is experiencing motion sickness only 2 times worse, as she found a good amount of bile quickly making its way to her mouth. She knew she was going to puke any moment now. That man is riding that woman, doggy style. Those were the words that had left Ash, Brock and Cynthia's mouths respectively. The 3 of them, as well as 99% of the others watching this broadcast, were gaping like fish out of water. That man is pounding into the woman so hard that the bed they were on just broke. Thought Conway, whose brain blew a fuse similar to how a computer or an electrical appliance would short-circuit as he continued to watch the advertisement, or whatever this thing was called. Conway did not know what to make of it, and personally, he did not really care at this point. Conway then saw the floor that Sasuke and Sakura, not that Conway knew their names, were now making love on began to crack. Fortunately, this scene ended before the floorboards could give way. What was in that crazy milk? Steroids? Back on TV, resuming with the video. With Hunter J Special Super Deluxe Milk, you will always be raring to go and get a good workout in. No longer will you ever have to wear baggy clothing to hide how bad you look. When you drink this milk before every workout you do, you will be able to lift heavier than you ever thought possible. Soon you will have the body of your dreams, informed Itachi. The video was now showing Mato Guy, who had long since discarded his green jumpsuit, and was only wearing a pair of black sweatpants right now. While he couldn't even perform a barbell curl with the previous weight, a 5-pound plate on each side of the barbell, he was now curling a much heavier and challenging load, a total of 65 pounds on each side of the barbell, like it was a piece of cake. With every repletion, one could see the veins in his biceps and forearms stick out, showing Guy's ripped vascularity. It was evident that the lactic acid buildup in his muscles right now must be huge. Not to mention the fact that Guy shouted the words, "Whoa sh. How my youth," every time he curled the weight on the bar. With Hunter J Special Super Deluxe Milk, you will always have enough strength to get a hold of what you long for. Never will you have to feel ashamed of having a frail and skinny body. Stated Kisame. The focus of the video then went back of the horde of fangirls who were in front of what was presumed to be Gaara's house. The girls were in a desert-like area after all. The fangirls all took 6 steps back before jumping and delivering flying kicks to the door while yelling, "Dynamic entry," knocking said door clean off its hinges at the same time. It was just at this time that Gaara came out of the shower in nothing but a towel. Well, you guys probably know what happened next. Seen the proof? Feeling satisfied? Can't wait to get your hands on this amazing dairy product? Then call the number on the screen right now and give us your address. Within 3 hours we will have the milk delivered to your doorstep. Said Itachi and Kisame in perfect sync as a number, Cyrus' personal number that Naruto had gotten his hands on with a little tricky spy work, popped up on screen. With the people watching the video in the same restaurant as Naruto and Cynthia. "I want some of that milk," shouted a random customer at the restaurant. Soon the place was filled with loud whistles and wolf-like howls by the males in the vicinity as some impure thoughts made their way into those males' minds. The aforementioned males also started taking out their communication devices like their poke navs and started dialing away. Cynthia, who had dropped the ice cream that she had in her hand earlier, spared a backwards glance at Roland only to see that the boy looked like his brain had just died. Great! Bertha was going to kill her for letting Roland see stuff like this. It was the boy's last day in Heart Home City too. Roland would be returning to his hometown tomorrow. How bad could one's luck get? With Cyrus. Cyrus was currently in one of the rooms in his Team Galactic backup base. It was not his main base of operations, but it was still decent nonetheless. He had accidentally dropped his TV remote on the floor, which caused one of the buttons to be pressed and TV to be turned on. However, the broadcast that Ash and company were watching was on every channel, so it did not make any difference at all. How ironic and unlucky. -1 video later. What ridiculous monstrosity is this? I refuse to take such mockery sitting down, yelled Cyrus in pure unadulterated rage. Cyrus was a man that was very hard to rile up, with the only way that stood a good chance of doing so being interfering in his plans regarding Dialga and Palkia. It wasn't a well-known fact, but Cyrus was a very short-tempered man in his earlier days. He was ashamed of his temper and thus took measures to overcome it. He dug a deep, deep hole, deeper than some of the deepest wells, and buried his temper down there. Nobody had managed to bring this dormant temper to the surface in 5 years, not until now. I don't think that strangling the TV is going to do you any good, Cyrus. Silence, Jupiter. One more word out of you and you will no longer be a member Team Galactic. Cyrus then went back to strangling the TV, which was 35 inches wide, with even more gusto. Soon Cyrus got tired and picked up a baseball bat. He then started slamming said object against the TV screen for a good period of time. Later, the baseball bat was discarded and in his hands now was a big mallet. Was Cyrus possibly pulling these things out of a Kamui dimension of his own? Cyrus then used said mallet to smash the top part of the TV until the electronic device looked to be nothing more than a squished cream puff. The big mallet was flung across the room as Cyrus then started stomping on the remains of the TV, at least until one of its many broken parts pierced his left foot. Pulling out the small object, which was similar in shape to a shard of glass, Cyrus quickly ran out of the room he was in. A few moments later, one of the walls of the room was busted down and Cyrus emerged riding inside a small bulldozer. Don't ask, you really don't want to know. He drove the bulldozer over the small bits of the former TV before reversing the continuous track tractor over it. This motion was repeated several times until no one could even tell that there used to be a TV in that room in the past. The scary thing was that Cyrus was laughing like a deranged maniac all the while. Jupiter learned one thing that day: never make Cyrus mad. In the afterlife, a certain self-proclaimed super pervert was raising a flag on a flagpole as the sounds of a professional music band could be heard in the background. On said flag was a picture of himself and his now favorite student of all time, Naruto, who were both laying in between a group of women while drinking sake. Below the picture were the words, "Pervert Nation," written in capital letters. "It is beautiful," said Jiraiya as he took a final glance at the flag before wiping a stray tear away from his eye. Who knows where the Toad Sannin had gotten his hands on the flag and flagpole in the first place. Too bad Jiraiya didn't see or sense the ominous presence of a certain Uzumaki woman standing behind him. A little while later, all the others in the afterlife would be graced with the unmanly sounds of Jiraiya screaming in pain while writhing in agony as the Uzumaki continued to repeatedly grind her foot into his crotch. Could a dead person even feel pain? No one truly knew the answer to that. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. That was not important in the end. With Naruto. Naruto had long since stopped eating his popcorn. His face was the definition of emotionless right now. He didn't whether to laugh because of how funny his shadow clones had made the prank, or if he should feel slightly disappointed that they did not execute his request and plan perfectly. Perhaps he should have felt guilty for scarring some of the younger generation. Naruto thought back to the orders he had given his shadow clones this morning. Earlier this morning, Naruto was in his room that he had rented in the Pokémon Center. By his side were 3 of his shadow clones. The time right now was before Naruto's match against Holly and Brock. "Alright, you 3, I have a job for you. Seeing as you all are a part of me, you would know that Hunter J has escaped from prison. We are going to use this to our advantage. I want one of you to transform into Hunter J while another one of you transforms into Cyrus. Then I want you to go to a closed and hidden nearby location and make it look like Cyrus has a relationship with Hunter J. Then my other shadow clone," Naruto pointed to the 3rd shadow clone, "will use a camera and film it. Once that is done, I want the 2 of you that transformed earlier as well as the one who did not transform to take on another appearance. After that, you all will use my personal computer," which was nothing like a normal computer might I add, "to hack the signal of the Sinnoh region's TV broadcasting tower and make sure that it is aired tonight for as many people as possible to see. This way people will stop trusting Cyrus so much and he won't be able to carry out his plans so easily. Am I clear? Asked Naruto after he had finished explaining to his clones what they were supposed to do specifically. Don't worry boss, the job will be done. Answered the three clones in perfect tandem. The original Naruto started walking towards the door of the room. Just as he placed his hands on the door knob to turn it, one of his clones spoke up. Boss, what type of and how serious of a relationship do you want Hunter J and Cyrus to have? Asked the clone innocently. Surprise me. Do try to make the tape a little humorous though. The original Naruto did not know what a giant screw-up he had committed at that moment. Present time. I told my clones to make things a little funny, but this. They might have gone a little too far. I should probably pull my pranks with my own two hands from now on. Thought Naruto, whose face had paled slightly, as he nearly felt like clutching his head in frustration. The key word in that sentence was nearly. In the end, his clones had actually thought up of a considerably praiseworthy plan. By creating more shadow clones to help them, the only people that the shadow clones transformed into from this dimension were Cyrus and Hunter J. The other people that his clones transformed into were all from back home in the elemental nations, so no one here, aside from himself, would know who they were. Sure, some of those people like Itachi, Kisame, and Gaara did not act like how they did back home, but that was probably for the best. Itachi was a person with as much humor as a log, Kisame was a sadist who constantly wanted to spill others' blood, and Gaara's was a person whose most common facial expressions were either stoic or blank. Later that night. What a day! Thought Naruto, who was sitting on a wooden bench outside the Pokémon Center while eating a cup of instant ramen. No surprise there. It was currently around midnight. Eating something like that at night? It is certainly not going to be healthy for you in the long run. Spoke up a voice beside Naruto. Naruto was not taken by surprise. In fact, he had sensed that a person was approaching him but chose to ignore it due to the fact that he did not sense any bad vibes coming his way. Turning his head to the side, with his mouth full of ramen I might add, Naruto saw Cynthia, who was dressed in bright red nightgown, take a seat on the bench next to him. As her body glowed slightly in the moonlight, Naruto was presented with an opportunity to simply admire and take in her beautiful figure. Naruto, can you stop staring at me? Asked Cynthia a little weakly, which she inwardly admonished herself for. Naruto's intense and appraising gaze on her made Cynthia fidget slightly. It was not that she minded Naruto staring at her, many others had done the same thing before, it just made feel a little uncomfortable. Sorry about that. Apologized Naruto softly after he had swallowed the noodles in his mouth in one large slurp. This action caused Cynthia to give him a look that practically shouted, "Ew. That was gross. Why exactly do you eat this kind of food so late at night anyway? It is bad for your health." Repeated Cynthia, seeing as Naruto did not answer her question the first time around. Blasphemy. No time is a bad time for ramen. Ramen is the food sent directly from the heavens above. Protested Naruto. Day or night, rain or shine, dusk or dawn, it didn't matter. In the end, Naruto would still continue eating his beloved ramen till the cows came home. Cynthia giggled as she listened to Naruto go on about how tasty the ramen toppings were, to how exotic the broth was, to how tender the noodles were. It seemed that Naruto was in love with ramen. She wondered what would happen if she cooked some ramen for him one day, as a friend of course. Actually, that did not sound like too bad of an idea. Cynthia stored that thought in the back of her mind for future usage. You don't have much room to talk here, Cynthia. Bit back Naruto, who had heard Cynthia giggling at him, playfully as he pointed towards the ice cream cone in her hand. Seriously, who sold that stuff at this late hour? Naruto was certain that someone like Cynthia would not carry a portable freezer just so she could bring more ice cream along with her. Or would she? Cynthia answered Naruto's jab by simply sticking out her tongue at Naruto in a matching playful manner. All of a sudden a light bulb appeared above Naruto's head as his face lit up with a smile that was identical to the one that he had before he used the sexy jutsu on Ash and Paul. With a quick and swift movement of his wrist, Naruto snatched the ice cream cone from Cynthia's hand and took off running. Cynthia stared at the spot in her hand where her ice cream cone was just a moment ago. A second passed, then two. "Naruto Namikaze, get back here with my ice cream!" yelled Cynthia, who took off and started chasing Naruto at a speed that would make Madogai cry youthful tears. Naruto had his ramen cup locked in between his right armpit. He was holding Cynthia's ice cream in his right hand while using a pair of disposable chopsticks in his left hand to eat his ramen. The fact that he was able to pull off a feat like this while running would have made some circus performers explode with envy. In the afterlife, I have a feeling that Gaki is going to get laid soon. OW. Kushina, not there. Not there. Jiraiya's musings were cut off by one Kushina Uzumaki, who was crucifying his crotch. The next day in the world of the living. With crazy pranks and some wacky raging reactions from viewers across the globe, coupled with one Sinnoh champion who had to really work her ass off to get her ice cream back, the remainder of the day passed really quickly. How did I let myself get talked into this? Wondered Naruto as he stood on one side of a training field in front of the Hearthome City Pokemon Center. On the other side of the field stood Cynthia, who, like Naruto, was preparing for a Pokemon battle with the other. When Naruto talked with Cynthia a little earlier in the morning, she had requested him to have a rematch with her. Both of them were leaving Hearthome City today. Naruto had declined almost right away, not wanting to get involved in another big-scaled battle so soon. Cynthia made the same request a few times over, but Naruto held his nerve and did not change his decision. But then, she gave him that stupid pleading look. As Cynthia's gray orbs looked imploringly into Naruto's, her face adorned with a cute, bad Naruto pout, the Namikaze felt his resolve weakening before he finally caved in and agreed to have a battle with her. The victorious smirk that Cynthia had on her face after Naruto accepted her request did not make the son of Minato Namikaze feel any better either. Naruto did make it clear that he would only have a one-on-one battle with her, just like they did in the Amity Square. If they had a full battle, then Naruto knew he would be stuck here for several hours to come, and that was a luxury that Naruto could not afford. The only way Naruto could think of that he could get a full battle with someone like Cynthia over and done within a short span of time was if he used his Dark Ray. However, Naruto had no intention of using his trump card in this battle. Naruto let out a sigh as he looked across the field to see that Cynthia had already let out her Pokemon, her Garchomp. She was eagerly waiting to see what Pokemon Naruto would respond with. Enlarging a shrunken Pokeball, Naruto let out his Alakazam. Alakazam was characterized by its humanoid structure and large mustache. Its snout was long and thin, and it had long, ear-like spikes extending from the back of its head. It had brown armor-like sections over its chest, shoulders, forearms, and knees, which covered its yellow skeletal body. There were 3 toes on each foot, each of which had a white claw. It wielded a silver spoon in each hand, each of which acted as an amplifier for its psychic abilities. "If both trainers are ready, then you may begin," said Brock, who was acting as the referee for this match. Author's note: I highly recommend that you people listen to the Sinnoh Elite 4 battle song/theme while reading this battle. Alakazam, start off with Psybeam. Alakazam crossed its spoons and released a multicolored beam from them at Garchomp. Garchomp, block it with Swords Dance. Garchomp crossed the fins on its arms across its chest and started spinning rapidly, deflecting the Psybeam. Garchomp's body then glowed red as its attack was raised. She used Swords Dance to block the Psybeam and boost her Garchomp's attack at the same time. She is definitely setting up for something, thought Naruto as he looked at Cynthia, who had a look of pure determination and concentration on her face. It was clear that she really wanted to win this match. Garchomp, use Crunch on Alakazam. With incredible speed, Garchomp flew towards Alakazam, closing the distance between them in a matter of seconds, before biting down hard on Alakazam with its mouth, which caused the Psy Pokemon to cry out in pain. Alakazam, use Ice Punch to knock Garchomp away, ordered Naruto. He could see that Garchomp's Crunch was really doing a number on his Alakazam. Alakazam's hand was surrounded by an orb of pale blue light. It then punched Garchomp in a way that was similar to how a person would deliver an uppercut to the jaw of another. This attack did manage to force Garchomp to release its hold, or its teeth, that were sinking into Naruto's Pokemon's skin, on Alakazam. Garchomp was sent a few feet into the air, but it simply did a couple of backflips before using its wings to keep itself airborne. By the looks of things, it seems like that Ice Punch did not inflict much damage despite the fact that Garchomp is a dragon and ground-type Pokemon. Cynthia has certainly done a good job in covering her Garchomp's weaknesses. It seems like I will just have to try harder, thought Naruto as he punched his right fist into his left palm. Garchomp, use Dragon Pulse. Garchomp, who was still in the air, fired a multicolored dragon-shaped beam of energy from its mouth at Naruto's Alakazam. Meet that attack with your Psybeam Alakazam, said Naruto, voicing his counter. The two attack met in mid-air as they pushed against one another before ultimately canceling each other out. With the spectators, that guy is actually able to fight the champion on even footing, remarked a random onlooker. Many people had started gathering around when they saw that the champion of Sinnoh was battling another person. Some of the people in the crowd recognized Naruto for his good, and not so good, if you know what I mean, performance in the recent Hearthome City Tag Battle Tournament. It was just too bad that almost none of them knew that Naruto and Cynthia had already locked horns once before prior to this. Back on the battlefield, Garchomp, use Dragon Rush. It seemed that Cynthia was attacking from all angles, trying to find a way through. The appendages on Garchomp's head glowed blue and it released a dragon-shaped energy that covered its body. It then flew at Naruto's Alakazam and prepared to slam into the Psy Pokémon with full force. Your Dragonite may have been able to catch my Garchomp's Dragon Rush, but your Alakazam, no matter how high-leveled, will not be able to pull off that feat. The anatomy of its body means that it is not physically strong enough, thought Cynthia. Her guard was still up as she knew that there was still a small possibility of Naruto doing some sort of magic trick to save his skin. I might just be able to try out my latest technique. Alright then, here goes nothing, thought Naruto as he decided to take a small gamble. Naruto, like Cynthia, knew that his Alakazam would not be able to grab onto and halt Garchomp's Dragon Rush like his Dragonite did in their previous match. That said, it did not mean that he would not try something else. Alakazam, use the Twin Flying Thunder God Rasengan combo. Do it quickly, there is not much time. Alakazam jumped into the air, making it look like it was planning to meet Garchomp's Dragon Rush head-on. When it jumped, Alakazam's left fist became surrounded by a light blue aura. Is he planning to intercept my Garchomp's Dragon Rush? A focus punch, wondered Cynthia. She had already figured out what move Alakazam was trying to use. However, in actuality the focus punch was nothing more than a mere distraction. If Cynthia had been looking a little more closely, she would have seen Alakazam's other fist become surrounded by a pale blue orb as its eyes glowed blue as well. Alakazam then began to discreetly use Psychic, with subtlety worthy of a ninja, to shape the incomplete ice punch in its hand into its intended shape without anyone noticing, not even the Garchomp in front of it. Just as the hand which Alakazam had been using for the focus punch was a few centimeters away from making contact with the speeding Garchomp that was heading straight for it, Naruto let out a shout saying, "Now!" Alakazam's entire body glowed white before it disappeared. Seconds later, it reappeared behind Garchomp, that was still in the midst of using its Dragon Rush, in its blind spot. There was a familiar swirling orb in Alakazam's right hand, which Cynthia as well as the trio of Ash, Dawn, and Brock recognized immediately. It was a Rasengan, which was the size of a big ball Rasengan. The only difference was that this Rasengan appeared to be made of ice. Cynthia did not know how this was possible. She thought that this technique, the Rasengan, could only be utilized by Pokémon that specialized in aura like Lucario. Apparently she had been wrong, and it was evident that Naruto had withheld some information regarding the technique from her. Then again, what shinobi in their right mind would tell their opponents all their secrets? Alakazam then slammed the big ball ice Rasengan into Garchomp's back, which caused it to lose its focus as the energy surrounding it from the earlier Dragon Rush to dissipate. Garchomp was still not out of the woods yet. While the first ice Rasengan was dealing damage to Garchomp, Alakazam wasn't sitting around idly. Alakazam let the energy, around its left hand, from the focus punch earlier disappear before it used a combination of its Psychic and Ice Punch to form a second big ball ice Rasengan. The moment the first Rasengan used up all of its power, Alakazam twisted its body and slammed the second big ball ice Rasengan, which it had just finished forming in its other hand in the nick of time, into Garchomp's back, just like it had done earlier. Cynthia's Garchomp may have been prepared for regular ice-type attacks, but Naruto was confident that it was not prepared for something like this. While it may have looked simple to conjure up a big ball ice Rasengan, it was not. Only Naruto could use this technique, as only he knew the mechanics behind the functioning of the Rasengan. Sure, Naruto had explained what the Rasengan was to Ash, Cynthia, and the others before, but he never told them the concepts on how to learn the technique. With the spectators. What was that move Naruto just used? Asked a confused Roland to no one in particular. He had been granted the privilege of watching this match due to the fact that he did not have to go back to his hometown just yet. This was because Cynthia had agreed to take him back there to make sure that he had a safe journey home. Since she was currently engaged in a battle, that meant that Roland had his stay in Hearthome City extended a little longer. Not that he was complaining though, this was one of the best fights he had ever seen. His big sister figure was going toe-to-toe with one of the coolest trainers he had ever met. Is it even possible to use teleport like that? Pondered Dawn internally. She knew the workings of teleport. It was a move that many Pokémon coordinators like to use to enhance their appeals in contests. Her mother, Johanna, who was a very experienced and established Pokémon coordinator, explained to Dawn that the number of people who use teleport in their appeals and contests had continued diminishing more and more over time because they could not seem to control where their Pokémon teleported to. Yes, it was possible to fix a location where you wanted your Pokémon to reappear at, but this would take a lot of time to set up. Furthermore, Pokémon moves and attacks could not be teleported along with the Pokémon. However, Naruto had somehow managed to do both. There was no way in hell that was a coincidence. In actuality, Naruto had trained his Alakazam to hone and spread its senses across a certain area at the start of a battle so that it could easily use teleport and reappear at any specific spot within that range in a time that it would take one to blink. Teleporting alone was not good enough for Naruto, so he took it one step further. He taught his Alakazam how to bring its attacks along with it whenever it teleported. The reason other Pokémon were not able to do this was because those Pokémon were putting all their effort in ensuring that they reappeared exactly where they wanted, thus leaving them incapable of teleporting their attacks along with them. Those Pokémon that did not put a shit ton of effort into determining where they reappeared could still bring their attacks along with them, not that it would do them any good. What use was an attack, regardless of how powerful it was, if it could not hit your opponent? Simply put, those kind of attacks were downright useless. That is why Naruto put months of work into preparing Alakazam so that it could use teleport and pop up anywhere it wanted in a specified diameter that its psychic senses had covered, in no time flat, while also not having to sacrifice its ability to strike its opponent during that period of time. All the blood, sweat and tears had been worth it in the end, as Alakazam could now perform this feat without any difficulties. In other words, Alakazam now possessed a less deadly version of the Flying Thunder God technique. This is nuts! Exclaimed Ash as he looked at the now partially destroyed battlefield in front of him. There were bits of debris and rubble scattered everywhere. Back on the battlefield. He's done it again. Well, at least things can't get much worse than this, thought Cynthia to herself. Oh, she did not know how wrong she was. As her Garchomp got back to its feet, albeit with some difficulty, Cynthia decided to get back into the game. She refused to sit on her behind and let herself and her Garchomp get beaten around like this. No, not again. This time she would win. By hook or by crook. Garchomp, use Hyper Beam. Garchomp opened its mouth and fired a dark purple beam of energy with a dark black energy around it at Alakazam. Upon making contact, instead of inflicting damage on Alakazam, the Hyper Beam caused Alakazam to disappear in a puff of smoke. A brief moment later, the real Alakazam appeared from underground. He used a substitute to give the appearance that his Alakazam was right before my eyes. Though it seems that the real Alakazam actually hid itself underground using Naruto's bastardized version of Dig. Analyzed Cynthia as her eyes narrowed slightly. Dang! That Naruto sure was a sneaky one. And now her Garchomp was wide open to attacks while it recharged from its latest usage of Hyper Beam. Let the Shadow Clone Delta formation run wild. Yet again Cynthia had no idea what Naruto just meant with that last command. This seemed to be happening a lot lately, but it worked in Naruto's favor every single time. Alakazam's body flashed white, and 4 clones that looked exactly like Alakazam dashed out of its body and stood by its side. Charge! As soon as Naruto said this, the 5 Alakazams let out something akin to battle cry in Pokémon language, which came off as a simultaneous loud ALA, before running straight for the momentarily paralyzed Garchomp. As they yelled ALAKZAM, the 4 Alakazam clones kicked Cynthia's Garchomp into the air using a Mega Kick each. Then, while Garchomp was floating in midair, the final Alakazam assaulted it with a rotating heel drop. The combo was continued when the original Alakazam caught one of its clones by the leg and used said clone to whack Garchomp in a manner similar to how one would use a golf club to hit a golf ball. After the hit was delivered, the Alakazam clone that was used as makeshift golf club disappeared in a puff of smoke. From his spot watching this, Naruto resisted the temptation to yell, "4." The combo was ended when the original Alakazam plus its 3 remaining clones jumped onto Cynthia's Garchomp, which was now on the floor, reminiscent to how a person, or a diver to be more precise, would jump into a pool. This caused Garchomp to let out a cry of pain. This time Naruto had to repress the urge to yell, "Cannonball." Once Garchomp was able to move again, the original Alakazam and its 3 clones jumped back to create some distance between themselves and Cynthia's prized Pokémon. "How did your Alakazam do that just now, Naruto?" "I am positive that copies of a Pokémon when they use Double Tem are incapable of attacking." "What did you do?" inquired Cynthia in a regular tone of voice, not giving anything away. While she may have appeared to be calm on the outside, on the inside there was an inferno of questions swirling in her head. She doubted that Naruto would resort to something like foul play, but she had to make sure. "That move my Alakazam used was not Double Team." "Have you ever heard of the move Substitute before, Cynthia?" asked Naruto. When she gave him an affirmative nod, he decided to elaborate further. Substitute allows a Pokémon to make a single clone of itself that can use attacks at the same time. However, why should one stop there? Why not make even more clones? Naruto left the sentence hanging in the air. "Don't tell him it, you actually managed to," stammered Cynthia, whose hands were trembling slightly. She was dreading the possible answer that she was most likely about to hear. "Bingo! You got it in one. I have taught my Alakazam to make more than one substitute at a time. I told you before, I don't want to be any Tom, Dick or Harry. I want to be the best. To do that I need to be able to master every move to its fullest," beamed Naruto with a cheery smile on his face that made him look like a 10-year-old kid in the candy store. Substitute was the perfect move in Naruto's eyes because its concept was so similar to the Shadow Clone technique. When using Substitute, a Pokémon's clone could still attack but would dispel after one hit. The only difference with Shadow Clones was that the Shadow Clone technique allowed the user to gain the memories of the clone while Substitute did not. That did not put Naruto off in the least. Substitute was his kind of move. He was the king of the Shadow Clone technique back home. So it took him practically no time at all to get his Pokémon to be able to make more than one clone when using Substitute. No normal trainer would be able to take Substitute and turn it into a game-changing move like Naruto did, simply because they had never used the Shadow Clone technique, or rather couldn't, and thus were not able to apply the concepts of that jutsu into the Substitute move that Pokémon used. Yep, it was undeniable. Naruto Namikaze, was awesome. Cynthia's lone visible eye, her other eye was obscured from view by her long, silky blonde hair, widened to the size of a dinner plate, and her jaw dropped so low that it was now in danger of hitting the ground. She was not alone in this regard. With the spectators. "Words fail me," muttered a bewildered Conway, whose glasses were about to fall off of his face. He was probably the only person in the crowd of spectators who managed to find his voice. The others had been stunned into silence. "Naruto is probably the biggest genius I have ever seen. No one even comes close to this guy's intelligence," thought Brock. He had to do his best to remain level-headed, as anything otherwise would not be befitting of his status as the referee of this match. Back on the battlefield. "This is just maddening. This one new technique of Naruto's could revolutionize the entire Pokémon world," thought Cynthia, whose jaw was still in danger of hitting the floor, who currently felt like she was trying to fight a bulldozer with her hands tied behind her back. She was snapped out of her musings when she heard the voice of the person she was just thinking about. "Careful, Cynthia, you might want to close your mouth or a Zubat might fly in there," teased Naruto. Cynthia shook her head as she got back to reality. She tried to glare at Naruto but failed miserably, seeing as she still had not gotten over the fact of what the Namikaze had just done. She was beginning to think that he truly was better than her. Shaking her head once more to get her bearings right, Cynthia decided to go on the offensive. Garchomp, use Draco Meteor. We have to get rid of all those Alakazam clones. Then we will use that tactic. Garchomp's body glowed orange and an orange ball of light appeared inside its chest. The glow faded and a ball of orange energy appeared in front of Garchomp's mouth. Garchomp fired the ball into the air and it exploded, releasing many orbs at the Alakazams. All the Alakazams tried to dodge, but the clones were eventually struck, causing them to vanish in a puff of smoke. The original Alakazam seemed to have gotten through without taking too much damage. Before Alakazam had any time to react, it was struck by a blue missile that shot out from underground. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the blue missile was actually Garchomp using Dragon Rush. As soon as the attack was completed, Garchomp's body became surrounded by spiraling orange streaks. Then, a purple energy sphere surrounded Garchomp's body and it flew into Naruto's Alakazam, which was right in front of it, seeing as no time was wasted after Garchomp's last move, with great force. The impact caused Alakazam to be sent crashing into a tree and become somewhat buried under the debris and rubble that had been kicked up over the course of this match. Cynthia used Draco Meteor because of its wide range to take out all of Alakazam's clones. She then had her Garchomp hide underground with Dig when Alakazam was trying to dodge before emerging with Dragon Rush. On top of that, her Garchomp was even able to make the change from Dragon Rush into Giga Impact in an instant. Analyzed Naruto as he broke down Cynthia's strategy play by play. His admiration for this woman had grown even more. She was definitely strong-willed and capable of holding her own. What are you going to do now, Naruto? Alakazams are incapable of learning one-hit KO moves. My Garchomp still has a good amount of strength left. Even a Rasengan of yours won't be able to knock it out. Spoke Cynthia in a way which was more of a challenge than a taunt. The fact that Naruto was still so calm did not bode well with her. Naruto simply chuckled. You are right in both cases, Cynthia. Alakazams can't learn one-hit KO moves, nor will one Rasengan be enough to take your Garchomp down. However, a ghost of a smile appeared on Naruto's face. I have something just as good. Just as the words escaped Naruto's mouth, the debris on top of Alakazam exploded. What Cynthia saw nearly made her heart stop. There stood 10 Alakazams, the original, and 9 clones, all with a big ball ice Rasengan in each hand. Get that Garchomp, ordered Naruto. This can't be happening. This can't be happening, thought Cynthia frantically as she watched her defenseless Garchomp get assaulted relentlessly by a barrage of big ball ice Rasengans, which caused a huge explosion to be kicked up. When the explosion cleared, Cynthia saw that her Garchomp was lying in a crater with swirls in its eyes. Garchomp is unable to battle, the winner is Alakazam, announced Brock. I lost again, thought a dejected and devastated Cynthia as she returned her Garchomp to its Pokeball with a sigh. Even after she gave it her all, she did not manage to come out on top. The Sinnoh champion had come out on the losing side twice now. Thanks for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, comment down below and let me know. See you in the next video.